and welcome back. This time we are taking a look at new features in the Office 365 integration, specifically Excel, new features in SAS Model Studio, and a feature for Flow coders. Let's get right into it. We are starting things off inside of Excel this time, which we haven't done in quite a while. So in here, we are inside of the SAS add-on that we can add to our Office 365 suite. And in here, I've already signed to my environment. What is new is now that you have the ability to open up your application options menu, and you can either jump straight to your SAS Viya environment, or you can now go to the settings page where you can change the default behavior, how things are inserted and updated into your Excel spreadsheet. I really like these additional options around updating how Excel interprets value that it's getting, especially if you have issues with like date formatting that Excel might automatically apply on top of your data, then you can suppress this behavior using this capability. And also you can preserve specific formats that you apply to your data using this as well. And of course, you can now also finally switch to the good old dark theme, so your stuff looks a bit nicer, at least in my opinion. Other than that, you can still add your tables, upload data from here, insert visual analytics reports, or run SAS programs right from this add-in. So this is just changing how you interact with moving things to and from Excel and SAS Viya. Speaking of, let's jump into SAS Studio, where we have a feature that is small in scope, but has some real impact for automation if you are someone that likes to code inside of the flows that we offer inside of SAS Studio. And here we get two new macro variables that are available to you if you run a SAS program or a Python program, of course, inside of SAS Studio. And these are flow location and flow place. Previously, we already had the flow name and the flow ID, though this one only applies if you stored your flow inside of SAS content. Let's take a look at the result here. And first, the location tells me where the path is that this flow was stored in. So flow location with the flow name gives you a fully qualified identifier to where your content sits. Now, because we have this split between SAS content and the SAS server, there is the flow place, which tells you is it inside of SAS content or SAS server. So that if you have code that uses, for example, file name statements, or that does root directory traversal, or maybe even interacting with Git, you can use this to check, hey, is this something that's running on SAS server or is stored inside of SAS server, or is it stored in SAS content? And then finally, also, if it's stored inside of SAS content, you can easily identify this flow through its ID and then find out what the folder is to update content there or upload new content to that folder. So this is a really handy automation feature if you have complex flows that try and handle a lot of different scenarios or need to share output through file system or SAS content. Really great feature in my opinion. Let's move over to SAS Model Studio, where we got a new handy feature for documenting our pipelines a bit easier. We can now go to the options on a pipeline, select expand header, and then we can add text in here. That's nothing new. What's new is this now supports rich text, meaning we can say hello world in here, and then we could say this is a great documentation header. And moving into this, we can now highlight things and turn them bold, italic, underline them, change the color of the text. And here you can now see it looks like a link. We could also change the background color of this. And of course, we can also link to external documentation, like a Confluence page, for example. You can change the size, you can change the font, and also how it is aligned, or even using headings in here. Now, bolding things is also enabled through Control B or Command B if you're on Mac, and italicization is also available through Command I / Control I. So really handy new feature to help you document things easier, communicate the important bits more clearly to your end users. And the same is also available if we go to the Insights tab, where we get the project summary. There we can also now add project notes that are also rich text. So we could say something like test the tester. And then when we go to generate a PDF, we can of course go in here and let's say I don't care about the project summary for whatever reason. And then we can just hit export. This will now generate this PDF for us. We can open it up and we can scroll through this, and you can see our rich text also translates down into this PDF. Really handy feature and super helpful to communicate your insights so that others can follow more easily, or link associated third-party content like Confluence pages or Jira tickets that you used to document your work along the way. Now, let's move over into cool new articles that have been contributed and published in the SAS community. First up is using DDC to force a VA objects to refresh. This is a handy tip that showcases how you can trigger the refresh of data or an object within your visual analytics report without having to set the refresh option on that specific object, just using the data-driven content object. So you can, for example, see when your code has finished running and updated the data. Next up is SAS Analytics Pro Choose Your Interface. This showcases how you can connect SAS Analytics Pro to Enterprise Guide, Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio Code Web, and SAS Studio. So really handy overview, and you can find out which UI for coding is the best for you when using Analytics Pro. Speaking of coding, and my favorite feature in the SAS extension for Visual Studio Code is SAS Notebooks, and in this article it's explained how you can share SAS Notebooks on GitHub by making use of the export as HTML feature and then hosting them as an actual web page directly on GitHub. Super awesome feature that helps you communicate your work more clearly and easier for others to consume that content. Really great work, and this is a fun article to start building out your portfolio using SAS Notebooks. With that, I hope you enjoyed these new features as much as I did, and see you next time. Bye bye.